Welcome to the studio. I'm Lindy Witten and I'm just going to be starting out on a pastel painting course. So first lesson is materials, and we'll start off with the pastels that we might be using. When you start with pastels, you can be a bit overwhelmed by the fact that there is such a big choice. There are hard pastels, soft pastels, pencil sticks, pastel pencils. There are round ones, square ones, oblong ones, rectangular ones, expensive and cheap. These are all options that we have. They come in sets, they come individually. How do you start out with your pastels? I'm just going to talk you through how I started out and some of the benefits of that and how you might want to start out. So we'll have a look at the various pastels that are available and some of the pastel brands and the pastel sets. You don't actually need that much to start out. When I first started, I loved looking at other people's pastel work in art shows, and I thought I'd like to try it. So I'd only really done watercolour up to then and maybe a little bit of acrylic. So I just went to when I was in my local pharmacy, I saw a small box of earth coloured pastels that wasn't very expensive, I don't know, $20, something like that. So I bought it and thought I'll have a play with this. Played with it, really enjoyed it, and so I said to my husband what I'd like for Christmas is a small box of good quality pastels. So this is what I started out with. It wasn't this particular set, but it was this kind of quality. These are Mungo student quality pastels. You can see they come in very bright shades and some darker, more muted colours, and that was a box of half sticks and 64 colours, so quite a big range of colours. That was the second box I bought myself, just so I could try it with the bigger range of colours, not just the earth tone. And that works quite successfully when you're first starting out to try it. The pastel has got the same sort of colour, but it's much more dusty. There's a lot more filler in the pastel so that it comes off your paper quite easily. We'll talk about paper in the next session. So if you want to try pastels and you want to start inexpensively, something like this isn't very expensive at all, and you can sometimes find it in a newsagent or some sort of gift shop like that, or an art supply shop will have the cheaper sets as well. So they're a medium to hard pastel. Over here I have a little box of Conte crayon sticks, so you might all be familiar with these. These are squarer shape and quite hard. They're very good for using to make sharp marks and detail, and you can see I've broken up a lot of my sticks because I like to use the sharp end edges. And that box I have had for probably 10 years because I don't use them a lot, just for detail. So even though this is a more expensive brand, it's very good value because it's going to last you a very long time. Down here I just have some Derwent pastel pencils, and they are again good for detail work. I've had those about the same amount of time. I don't use them very much, but they sharpen to a nice sharp point and they're very good for detail work. Okay, so you might have started out with a cheaper box and you find you really love it and you want to move on to some more artist quality pastels. And there's a big range and it can be a little bit daunting. I have quite a large range of pastels I've gathered over the years. So you can get them in just a mixed box, and these again are half sticks. That's a very economical way to buy because you can try a lot of different colours with just the half stick and then decide if you like that brand. So much cheaper way to buy to get a big range of colours. This box is the Sennelier brand. It has 80 different colours in there, which is fantastic, and it's a reasonably expensive box to buy, but again that will last you a long time and give you a good feel for it. The Senneliers are nice and soft. I find them a bit crumbly sometimes, but they do have some beautiful colours in them. And then I've got this mixed box, so you might get just a mixed box that can be used for anything. If you specialise or have a particular interest in a certain genre, so I love landscape and seascape. I don't really do portraits. So this is a landscape box by Unison. These are a British handmade pastel, and they are just beautiful to work with. They're not too soft and they're not too hard. They will leave you a nice thick swathe of colour on your paper. They come in beautiful colours for the landscape. There's such a lovely range. These are probably my favourite pastels. Over here I have another box, which is a travelling box that I can take with me, and that has the same brand as this one. It's a Sennelier brand, and it has a lot of useful colours in it, and again half sticks, so I can take a lot of pastels when I travel. They're packed into the foam insert, and then it will close up nicely like so and be safe for travelling. Then as your pastel sets grow, you might want to think about the fact that you find it difficult to get really dark darks. You might want to buy a specialty box of dark pastels. So this is the Sennelier brand again. They do a lovely box of 24 very dark colours, and that's really helpful when you're trying to push the darks in your paintings. And conversely, you may want to go for a set of very light pastels. These are great for the skies, and these are a Unison little box of 18. So they can be a really useful set as you expand. Of course, there are lots of other boxes. I'll just get another set here, which is the Great American Artworks, and these are again a beautiful pastel, soft and buttery. And in here we have greys. You might think they're not grey, but they are greyed versions of other colours, and they work beautifully when you need muted colours in clouds and in the landscape. So that's a lovely box again. Quite expensive to buy a box like this, but again they're going to last you for a very long time, so if you do really get into pastels, they're a great investment. I'm a seascape artist too, so here's another Great American Artworks. Oops, I haven't taken out the foam, which will protect your pastels. And again you can see that these are much brighter seascapey colours, so fantastic for water. Again, soft and buttery. We'll put those ones away. As you progress in pastels, you'll probably find that you build your own sets. So here, I'll just put these carefully on the top there, is a box I built myself because I couldn't find one that was ready-made here in Australia. And in here, I filled my box with different colours with different brands. So the ones that I use quite a lot, I find my favourite colours and hardness and softness, and I'll pop them into this box. It's got some brown rice in there just to help keep the pastels clean as they rub against it. I've got some greys here, purples and pinks, reds and siennas, yellows, lemons, greens and blues. So a lovely range, and this is the box I get out first when I'm starting, because it will have the colours that I use a lot. So that's the kind of range of pastels you can find, starting at the very cheap when you first start, or if you're fortunate enough to not have any problems with money, you can go on and buy a starter set in a more expensive brand. The difference between the cheaper and the more expensive is in the filler. The more expensive will have less filler, so you get a lot more pigment for your money, and your colours are cleaner, there's less dust, and it's a more enjoyable experience. However, if you just want to try it, you can start out with the cheaper set. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing the range of pastels that are available and a little bit of a chat about them. For me, I like a pastel that's softer rather than harder. I love the Unison because they have a medium softness with quite a lot of nice abrasive quality to them too. The Senneliers are very soft. The Great Americans are very soft. I also have a box of Schminkies. I didn't bring that out because there's a lot missing, because I've used a lot and because I've mixed them into my own box here. The Schminky was the first brand I ever bought that was expensive, and they are an absolutely beautiful pastel too, really soft and buttery, and that's where my addiction with the more expensive pastels grew. I hope that you can now see that you can start off inexpensively and build up your collection as you go. Next time I'll be talking about the paper and the ground and the surface that you can paint on. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you for the next lesson on paper and grounds. Bye for now.